right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Larry Nichols is an individual who has just had such an amazing life. You know, he was with the Mujahideen for 2 years in Afghanistan doing some interesting work. He's going to talk about that later. He talked to Nouri al-Maliki, the prime minister of Iran, a while back during the attempted Gulf of Tonkin II they tried to stage with those fake radio transmissions. The media later admitted they were fake. It was a fraud that the Iranians didn't threaten to blow up the ships, just made up. And we're going to have him talk about that later in the second half of this hour. But he is credited with releasing the majority of the scandals about Bill Clinton, helping to put together the Clinton Chronicles and Clinton Circle of Power. He worked with the Clintons. But so people get an idea of who you are, Larry, go back to the work you did in the government. Then when you got to know the Clintons there in Arkansas, you know, who Larry Nichols is. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but do that for us, Larry.
Well, Alex, first off, thank you for having me on. And I apologize for not being on with you for a few years. But for years, I worked for the government. I was with the Contras in Nicaragua, Afghanistan. Then I got in with the Stevens Group in Arkansas, which is the largest investment group outside Wall Street.
Well, let's go back, though. Let's go back to, because, Larry, you haven't talked a lot about, now, who were you working for back when you were in Afghanistan and Nicaragua?
The CIA.
And what was your position there?
Well, you trained people, trained fighters.
When were you first recruited into CIA?
From Vietnam.
Well, let's go back, because before people know who Larry Nichols is, I mean, you know, my audience has grown so much, and we've got so many new AM and FM stations. Let's spend, I mean, I'll keep you to the next hour if you have time, Larry, because I want to flesh all this out, so don't rush. Tell us, in a nutshell, the life story of Larry Nichols. Then we'll bring it up to the Clintons, and now where we are in 2008.
Oh, Lord, Alex. I was Green Beret in Vietnam. Then we were kicked out of Vietnam for cutting up the little Vietnamese when we killed them, because when you cut them up in little pieces, they didn't get to go to Buddha heaven. And when they didn't get to go to Buddha heaven, well, then they wouldn't fight you. Well, the people didn't like that kind of rule, so they kicked us out. Then they turned and offered most of us merc work. And from there I went to Rwanda against Idi Amin. From there to the Congo. And I guess just about every war in the world, Alex, anybody's war, I was in. And then Reagan called with a guy back during the Contras, right when Ollie North got in trouble. There was a guy named Jack Singlov that I had worked with for years. And so anyway, he called and they needed a little help, so I went down there. And it was down there, Alex, that Nicaragua was different. My average soldier was 13 to 16 years old. And we were up against 500,000 Sandinos. And there you would go, but 2 hours later I'd hop on a Flying Tiger or Southern Air, and I'd be back in America. And the transition of being in battle and then being back here that quick fried my brain. Now, I had known Bill Clinton and Hillary since I got them elected the first time. And so my parents, my family, thought it was time for me to get out of the racket of running around and fighting. And so they said, why don't you call your friend Bill Clinton and get him to give you a job?
So by fried your brain, you got what they call PTSD?
Yeah. And so I called Bill. Bill said, well, I got a perfect place for you. It's called the Arkansas Development Finance Authority.
And he knew you were good because, of according to Terry Reid and others, Bill been in intelligence quite a while, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, they all know about me. I had done a lot of dirty work here for him. I mean, anybody that got in Bill's way, we eliminated. We got rid of him.
Well, you're going far today, Larry. I mean, I've been interviewing you for like 12 years off and on. By eliminated, what would happen to him? You mean arms, legs, head cut off, and then they'd report it was a suicide?
It depended on what they deserved. Larry Patterson, Roger Perry, and I, we would do whatever we were asked to do. Somebody got in our way. Bill screwed some farmer's daughter, and he was going to go public. He had two choices. Shut up, or, hey, deal with it. So they put me at this place called the Arkansas Development Finance Authority. Nobody had ever heard of it, and I'd been around government for years. And as you remember from the Clinton Chronicles, you remember the former Supreme Court Justice Jim Johnson. What an incredible man. He testified to all of this on the Clinton Chronicles. And I go there to this place thinking that they made low-interest loans to schools and churches and low-interest bond loans.
I mean, you were a killer. You've been killing for decades for this government, and you knew that people played dirty, but you still thought it was overall for something good at the end?
It's what you did for money, Alex.
So you didn't even think it was good?
I didn't care.
Well, you know what? Folks have heard the Whitewater and the rest of the story. We're going to tell that and then get into the new, what's happening today, your bottom line on Hillary and McCain staging this whole deal. That's what's most important. And then into the Iran situation. We're really honored to have you, Larry. But then I want to talk about the mindset. Why are you doing this now? Now you come across pretty credibly, and your info's always checked out, and you've hurt the Clintons bad. I mean, if you were doing it for money and being evil before, when did you decide to be a good guy?
When I went to the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, remember, I had just been in a battle in the Bucah, right along the Rio Coco. And we had attacked the diamond mine. Adolfo Calero had sent me in to attack the diamond mine in the Bucah. And there was a little girl, about 9 years old. And in that particular battle, what would happen when a battle was coming, Alex, people, the peasants or campesinos, would move to enclaves where they'd be safe from the battles. Well, this little girl and her mother they didn't make it to the enclave. Well, they had a twin 50, blew her mother into goo. And I ran and picked her up, pulled her over a log, and told her she'd be okay. And I was looking at the little girl, and I looked down, and her eyes went cold, and her bottom half had been blown off. And Alex, I had a daughter, Chelsea. Chelsea and Beth played together. I mean, they were the same age as this little girl. And my brain fried. I mean, I went nuts. So I came back. I go to this place called the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, right, thinking I'm going to be the marketing director. Lo and behold, what do I find out? Adolfo Calero calls me, and you remember who Adolfo, the big guy with Ronald Reagan, the big white-haired guy, the head of the Contras. He called me and he said, "We've got a problem." I said, "What is it?" He said, "We're hearing that we're smuggling cocaine through a place called Mena, Arkansas." I said, "Well, that's nuts." He said, "Well, would you go down and check it out?" Well, I ran with Bill Clinton, Dan Lanster, Webb Hubbell. I mean, you name them, we were all buddies.